I'm C Monster 51, and these are my Week 11 NFL predictions. Last week I went 9-5, and I'm now 94, 54, and 1 on the year. The Colts and Saints have bye weeks this week. Let's start these Week 11 predictions with the Thursday night game. We have Jets versus Patriots. The Patriots had an impressive win last week against the Bucks, and that game was also in Tampa too. This week they have a much easier opponent in the Jets. Even though the Jets won last week, this should still be an easy win for the Patriots. For the Sunday morning game, we have Commanders versus Dolphins. This game will be played in Madrid, Spain. And I believe it's the first ever game that's going to be played in Spain. And also the Commanders will start Marcus Mariota at quarterback. So because of that, I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win. And by the way, the Dolphins had an amazing win last week against the Bills. They won 30-13. Easily the most impressive win of the season. Okay, now we're going to go this way. Texans versus Titans. The Texans right now are in the thick of the AFC playoff picture. They have to start winning some games if they want to make the playoffs. Right now they're the number 9 seed, and they're one game behind the Jaguars for the 7th seed. And I do have them winning this game too. And that'll get them back to 500 on the year. Bengals versus Steelers. These are two AFC North teams. Oh, and I also heard that Joe Burrow is back in practice, and he has about 3 weeks to come back. So who knows? Joe Burrow might be coming back one of these weeks. I don't know if it'll be this week. I'm gonna assume that he doesn't play in this game. So I'm gonna pick the Steelers to win this game and stay in the lead in the AFC North. And then I'll drop the Bengals to 3-7 on the year. Chargers versus Jaguars. This was a game that I was going back and forth on who I think is gonna win. I was also seeing that the Chargers are a slight favorite in this game, like a 2 or 3 point favorite. And you know, I think they do win this game, the Chargers, that is. And the Chargers would have the same number of wins as the Broncos. Okay, speaking of the Broncos, we got Chiefs versus Broncos. Chiefs are a slight favorite in this game, and I think they win as well. And if they win, there's a number 7 seed for now. Oh, and that also put the Chargers in the lead in the AFC West. Wow, this division is getting very interesting. In fact, it's probably the most interesting one in the NFL right now. That one and the NFC West. Okay, Ravens versus Browns. The Ravens have won their last 3 games in a row. It also helps too that Lamar Jackson is finally somewhat healthy now and playing. You know what? They should win their 4th game in a row against the Browns in Cleveland. You know, you got the Browns who only have 2 wins on the year. Okay, Bucks versus Bills. Very good game, by the way. I know that the Bucks lost last week to the Patriots. And the Bills did too. These 2 teams are coming off of losses each. You know, this will probably be a colder game in Buffalo. So I'll go with the Bills to win this game. And even with the win, they'll still be a game and a half behind the Patriots in the AFC East. We're going to skip this game for now because it's a Monday night game. Bears versus Vikings. The Vikings are 2.5 point favorites in this one. You know, I thought the Bears would be favored, if anything. You know, I'm actually kind of surprised at that. I do have the Vikings winning this game. And even the NFC North is getting very interesting right now. You got the Lions who are in first place in the NFC North. They're like a game and a half in front of the Vikings who are in last place. Okay, Panthers versus Falcons. The Panthers last week had a bad loss against the Saints. Against the Tyler Shook Saints. They only scored 7 points against the Saints. And also this is another NFC South showdown that they're going to be having this week. You know, I'm going to say that they bounce back and win against the Falcons. And with that win, they stay alive in the NFC wildcard race. In fact, there will only be a game behind the Bucks, or half a game. Okay, Packers versus Giants. Man, that was another bad game by the Packers offense last night against the Eagles. They only scored 7 points the entire game. And another thing, why would you keep Brandon McManus as your kicker when he's clearly not healthy? You saw when they tried a 64-yarder how badly they missed. He missed. You know, if Brandon McManus just isn't healthy, then they gotta go with the other kicker. You know, the one that played against the Cardinals. And you also have the Giants who just fired their head coach, Brian Daboll, after a 2-8 start on the year. In fact, they're oh no, the Titans are even worse, but the Giants named Brian Kafka as their interim head coach for the rest of the season. You know, I will say, this is a must-win game for the Packers. If they don't win this game, then Matt LaFleur is gonna start getting really hot. Because you even have Packers reporters asking Matt LaFleur about his job security. Whenever stuff like that happens, you know that the hot seat stuff is real. And I think they play better in this game. And they win against the Giants. Especially with an interim head coach now. Okay, Seahawks versus Rams. Oh, I forgot to mention. The Falcons and Panthers game. They're favoring the Falcons to win and not the Panthers winning. So this will be my episode of the week. With Panthers beating the Falcons. Okay, but anyways, back to this game. Seahawks versus Rams. Two teams who have the same record in their own division. You know, that was an impressive win last week by the Rams. You know, when they beat the 49ers in Santa Clara. You know, I do have them winning this game as well. And with that, the Rams will now be in first place in the NFC West. And also in first place in the entire NFC as well. 49ers versus Cardinals. The other two NFC West teams are also going to play each other. Only I think the 49ers will win this time. And if the 49ers win, they will take over as the number 7 seed for now. Okay, and for the Sunday night game, we have Lions versus Eagles. Even the Eagles offense wasn't very good yesterday. They only scored 10 points against the Packers. But despite that, I think they win against the Lions. I think they play better on offense. Because you do have to give credit to the Packers defense. Their defense is pretty good. In fact, they played pretty good all year, except for the Cowboys game. And speaking about the Cowboys, for the Monday night game, we have Cowboys versus Raiders. And also, rest in peace to Marshawn Nealon. You know, it sucks what happened to Marshawn Nealon. Especially after he scored a touchdown 2 days before he died. You know, the Raiders are only 2-7 on the year. So I gotta go with the Cowboys in this game. And they gotta start winning games if they want to make the playoffs. Well, it looks like that's all the game for week 11. Now let me know your predictions. See you later.